The Bengals travel to LA to face the Chargers on Sunday night this week, and what can really only be described as a must-win game for the Cincinnati Bengals, sitting at 4-6 on the outside of the playoff picture, looking in. But man, this offense, there may not be anyone hotter at the moment. So, Kyle, I'll start with you. Which matchups are we looking forward to in this Sunday night football AFC game?
Well, first and foremost, it's the matchup against Cincinnati versus the physical pain of playing football. And you know what? The last game they had was against the Baltimore Ravens. And I know that Joe Burrow was 400 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns, all that jazz. But when you stack games against a team like the Ravens, and then you go play a Jim Harbaugh coach team with a defense that's led by Jesse Minter's front, and they are physical, and the offensive line is going to be getting after that Cincinnati Bengals group. That's really the matchup I'm going to get to. But this is one of those, can you do it a couple weeks in a row type games? BMAC, you and I have both been in these games where you got to, you get out of bed and everything cracks a little bit, and you're kind of, maybe you'll sleep in a little bit longer. No, you get out of bed, and when your boots hit the floor, you understand it's going to be a physical game. The matchup for me is when it becomes a shootout with this Cincinnati Bengals offense, which is a surefire 30, 34 point type game. The offensive line comes into play. And we know that there's sack getters on the Cincinnati Bengals front. When we get in the third down, can we protect Justin Herbert? He's been dynamic and explosive with the football. He's going to need some time in this football game. You're going to have to protect him.
Well, for me, it's the elephant in the room. Can they slow down Jamar Chase? Will the Chargers humble themselves down to admit and say we need to put two players on Jamar Chase? Which is kind of confusing, guys, because if you look at Jamar Chase, what he did in that ball game last Thursday night, at some point you would think the Ravens would say, you know what? We just don't have one guy that can cover him. We're going to cloud him. We got to X him out of the game, efface him out of the ball game, and put two people on him in critical moments where we feel like they're going to throw the football because we had no answer. So for the Chargers, Joe Cool Burrow is going to target number one, and he might get his wide receiver 2 back and T. Higgins. So when you look at those two guys for the Chargers, will you have an answer? Now, Kyle, great point, because if they can put pressure on Joe Burrow, that actually helps the guys in coverage. But what happens if Joe Burrow gets the time? What happens if the rhythm is there? You better believe it's going to be a long day for the secondary members for the Chargers. So that's the matchup that I'm looking forward to seeing, because when you look at the Chargers, they're 6-4. But this will be the most talented passing attack they faced the entire season. They're 6-3, I'm sorry. So this will be the most talented passing attack they face the entire season. So can they have the timely stops that will be needed to be able to be effective against Cincinnati's passing attack led by Joe Burrow?
That's what I'm looking at, BMAC, because this Chargers defense, 13.1 points per game, 3 points less than anyone else in the NFL this season. The best defense from a outcomes perspective in the NFL. However, they have not faced a single top 10 offense in their 9 games this season. They have not faced a true threat in terms of someone that's going to bring it every single week that can really beat you aerially on a consistent basis. So Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and hopefully we'll see T. Higgins in this game, and hopefully we'll see Orlando Brown at left tackle in this game. But that's what I'm looking for, because the results have been great, but they have not faced that team that really worries you about putting points on the scoreboard. They've had a very, very easy schedule to date. So can this Bengals team light it up? We shall see.
And I'd like to add something to that as well. Yeah, I was going to say, you talked about the passing attacks or the lack thereof when it comes to explosive and really high-level play. But the Chargers, this is a game where you got to earn respect. Because let's keep it real. You're 6-3. Your defense has been putting up dominant numbers. But out of the 6 wins, they've only beaten one team that's either at 500 or above 500, which is the Denver Broncos. And if I'm not mistaken, Denver are 5-5 right now. Every other team they've beaten is well below 500. The Raiders, the Panthers, the Saints, the Browns, the Tennessee Titans. All of those teams are getting ready for Cancun. So right now, you have to earn respect, because yes, you're 6-3. And to your point, Mike, you've been playing against a lot of generic offenses that are not really threatening you at all, and you have dominated against those said offenses. Even though the Cincinnati Bengals are below 500, this is a team that if you're not careful, You trying to spar with them, they will put you to sleep. So this is a respect opportunity as well for the Chargers.
Yo, Mike, this is exactly what we said earlier. I said this is going to end up being the best quarterbacking we see all weekend because Joe Burrow is going to come out there and light it up, and we're going to see the ceiling of this Chargers passing attack because he's going to be forced to throw it a lot more than they have.
All right, who do we like that in the terms of quarterback? If you were to pick one of these guys, which one would you want to start a franchise with right now?
Joe.
Jeez.
Joe.
Go Ducks, Justin Herbert.
I put him in a blender there. I put him. The Oregon Duck can't go against his alma mater. It's Joe Burrow, Kyle.
Biased.
Come on. It's Joe.
Yeah, I mean,
the only thing you can say.
Joe Burrow is the main. He's the main character, right? I mean, he's the guy. You can't not pick Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
We still
and I like Joe better.
I mean,
I like Joe better without the blonde hair. I think he plays better without the blonde hair. So Joe, don't do the blonde hair anymore.
He's going through an era right now, like Taylor Swift. He'll make an album about it.
I'll say this. The only thing that really separates them, Burrow consistently suffers these major injuries, but also he consistently plays behind the worst offensive line in the NFL. It seemed like this was supposed to be the year. They were finally had it. Nope. He's been under pressure the second most of any quarterback in the league this year, but a passer rating of 104.1 under pressure. Only 2 quarterbacks have a better passer rating all season, Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, than he does under pressure. That's how good Joe Burrow has been. All right, we're going to get